My name is Gina Cardenas.
Hi, I'm Haley.
I'm Dion.
I'm Elizabeth.
And the book we read was Conquest by Andrew Smith. And we'll start with, I guess, the first question.
Should we read off the first question?
Someone have a question?
Oh yeah. Why have Native women been historically targeted for sexual violence?
I read in the book that it's literally stated, quote, that they focus on Native American women because it's not only gendered, but there's a race factor in it. So it's kind of the intersectionality of both of those. So they can be targeted in both of those ways.
Right. I got so what I got from it was so rape was historically used to dominate okay. Somebody else go.
Well, I remember what was said is that it was like their bodies are inherently rapeable and inherently violable, violatable, I guess. I don't know what that's word.
I looked
But
that
rapeable?
up. I looked it up and it was
Yeah,
I think it was
It was like rapeable.
It's violable.
Yeah, and then it was
Rapeable.
like they don't even have bodily integrity because they are seen as less than because of the gendered and race intersection. So they can't even technically be raped because they didn't even have the integrity or the rights to their body in the first place.
They compared it to prostitutes as well,
Mhm.
having prostitutes not having bodily integrity because they go out allowing their bodies to be shared among people.
What I got from the reading was that these Native women lived perfectly fine with the Native men. There was no role of dominance. So bringing in the colonialism into that, they used that to break down the culture that they already had, the indigenous culture, to get at the Native.
Okay, so I'm just gonna read what I have because it's put there. So rape under colonialism is intended to remove the colonized community, while rape within slavery is intended to reproduce the enslaved workforce. So in a sense, they were saying Native women were seen as unclean, dirty, barbaric, and I guess it's plays in a religious factor too, when you're seen as unclean or what was it?
Dirty.
Yeah, dirty.
Sinful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they made it seem as rape was justified because they were clean and dirty. So that's
Yeah. I remember they compared it to, I don't know how to say it, the Canaanites or something from the Bible. And he said that they both personify sexual sin, and that's why that they were condemned to hell, pretty much. And that's why sexual violence was used against them. That's why they were targeted. I also remember that it said something that Native women need to be saved from Native men because Native men are supposed to be the real assailants of it, but it's actually white men doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gives the white men an excuse to go ahead and do it because they'll have someone else to blame.
Yeah. Well, there's no punishment either. So
There's no consequences to it.
And I read also in there that it was another way to control their own women, white women too.
Mm-hmm.
I also have, I guess I can note one more thing, that they wanted the women to be assimilated into the culture, so that would increase their chances of being sexually violated because of the language barriers and receiving benefits for going into the dominant white culture. But obviously they weren't any benefits related. They were just
Yeah.
And it's weird because with the religious factor, they were told that they shouldn't have sex. I remember in the boarding school, they were told that they shouldn't have sex and everything, and then it was actually the boarding school teachers who were raping them and molesting them and violating them, and then that caused a lot of internalized self-hatred within them because they were well, I didn't want this, and I'm going against what I've been told my whole life, but I didn't. But like, what else can I do about it?
Yeah, that's what I got from it. It's a pretty. So I guess the second one is, what are some examples of state-sponsored forms of sexual violence, particularly in the form of racist reproductive policies?
Well, one thing that struck me as crazy was there was that organization called CRACK within the book.
I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Children Requiring a Caring Community place. And it was that they would give money, or that they would give women money if they would be sterilized, like in return. And I remember it targeted women, like poor women and women of color, and like drug addicts, because they were like, don't let a pregnancy ruin your drug habit. So instead of like wanting to help, drug addicts and everything, and like providing rehab for them, they were instead further criminalizing them.
Mm-hmm. The thing that I noted was the drug called quinacrine, which was noted, and it was used originally to treat malaria, and it had caused actually women to be infertile, and other side effects that were noted were ectopic pregnancy, inflammatory disease, and like abdominal pain. And I found it interesting because there are so many side effects to this, but there's a private clinic in Daytona Beach that administers these like quarantine sterilizations. But it's not, you don't hear about it. But it's like, just as bad as any illegal drug.
Right.
Well, did you guys know that Planned Parenthood used to actually do that?
Mm-hmm.
Like regularly? Planned Parenthood, like before it was Planned Parenthood, it used to sterilize women, like involuntarily. Yeah. So it doesn't have like, the connotation it has
And that
now.
wasn't that far.
That wasn't that
Like
far
what? It was like
away.
only, when was Planned Parenthood? 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
I think it was
Or was
maybe
it like
in the 60s.
in the 60s? But still, that's not long ago at all. That's within like the, 5 decades or a half century.
And I also remember there was this one woman who she like went into the doctors for like headaches really bad, and she ended up getting like a hysterectomy or something, or she ended up getting sterilized essentially, and it didn't have anything to do with her headaches. And then it just found out that she had a brain tumor, and she like eventually died. But like they literally sterilized her for no reason. Yeah.
There are a bunch of cases of that.
Mm-hmm. What else was another one? There was that 20-year-old that wanted a womb transplant, but she got that irreversible hysterectomy. So she had like her choice to have kids taken away from her, which is awful. Which I mean, I know not everyone wants to have kids, but still.
They compared it to the overpopulation problem. So it's like they justify doing all this stuff because we're overpopulated and there's like high poverty rates and all this type of stuff. So we're going to target those people and try to eliminate them because we're overpopulated.
Yeah, and so they hit on like pretty much like poverty and unemployed and
Yeah, and it goes back to like not having their bodily integrity, so they're still being violated by being sterilized. Like their bodies are still being raped.
And I guess in relation to those like racist reproductive rights against Native women, it also continued like a war against all the Native nations in there.
There was a ton more other examples in here. I know it said that it was like Native women are better off dead than pregnant because they'd rather not even worry about them, like repopulating because they're such like a problem.
Because like the whole culture was a problem. They're saying that they don't take care of the land, they don't teach the right stuff, and there's alcoholism and all that kind of stuff in that culture. So they just want to eliminate it.
Yeah, there was one. one lady who like got drunk or something, and she was breastfeeding while drunk, and she like got charged with, or she didn't get charged, but she was like made out to be this unfit parent, and she got her kid taken away from her.
Wait, and she took what?
She was breastfeeding her kid, but she had just got drunk or something, but she was trying to breastfeed her kid, and I can't remember.
Wait, I thought you weren't supposed to do that. I thought you weren't supposed to do that. Yeah, you're not.
I mean, I'm not sure.
Because
I
there's
don't
like
breastfeed.
alcohol. No. I was saying there's like alcohol in the.
Anyway. Well, yeah, that was in here, and she like got her kids taken away from her because of it. And she was like, really this awful person. I think she got like thrown in jail or something for it. I don't know. Yeah, but like hysterectomies, you know, like they're typically for like cancers. Like that's usually why people get them done, unless you really just like don't need your uterus for anything. Like I know, like I have a family friend who got her uterus removed simply because she just didn't have a period anymore. But usually that's, you know, like reserved for like uterine cancer and like cervical cancer and stuff. But the fact that they were just giving them like casually is kind of scary, because that's a really big operation to do. That's all I have to say. Okay, there was that Norplant stuff too. Norplant, another long-acting contraceptive, was approved for distribution in the U.S. in 1990. It's basically like an in-arm birth control, but it had like a whole bunch of side effects. I remember that.
And what didn't it mention something about like them knowing all the side effects and everything, and they were still
Yeah, here it is.
administering it?
So the side effects, constant bleeding, yep. Particularly problematic for Native women, since women are often excluded from ceremonies while they are bleeding. And yeah, 30% of women on Norplant wanted it removed within 1 year.
Still
One woman attempting to get it out, told her doctor, "I'm dying, please help me get it out." And he said, "Okay, when you die, inform us."
Wait, that's really harsh.
Yeah. A woman said, "I'm dying, please help me get it out." Her doctor responded, "Okay, when you die, you inform us, we'll get it out of your dead body." Like, they really just did not care about Native women.
That's
They
not
made
was
it
in
clear.
1990.
Yeah.
That was not even 30 years ago.
They made it clear that they didn't blow my mind.
Oh yeah, then there was everything about abortions, about how one victim said that going to get the abortion was worse than like her rape that got her pregnant, because they basically like scold the women going to get it. Yeah, this one woman was told by her doctor, "This really hurt, didn't it? But let that be a lesson before you get yourself in this situation again." This controversy was uncovered when the rape victim, Ellen Hamilton, went to the media saying that her abortion had been worse than the rape. She was given no counseling, pinned down, and given no anesthesia during the procedure. They really just did not care. It's just dumb, because like no one else should be able to control what a woman does with her body.
But this was also very early. Nothing had been put in place, so like.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it should still stand.
Yeah. There's no justifying it at all. I'm not trying to justify.
Yeah.
That's question 3.
Okay, so number 3 says, how have colonizers used sexual violence as a primary tool of genocide? So I have a quote here. It says, so according to Andrea, the bodies of Native Americans were seen as inherently violable, which was a result of viewing their bodies as dirty or unclean. So a lot of these like kind of intersect with each other. So there's like a very strong religious overtone when it came to the sexual violence that were committed by colonizers. So there's like a patriarchal system among the colonizers. White men deemed it okay to use sexual violence as a means of control over Native women. The genocide comes in because of mutilation of sexual organs and experimentation. That's what I got.
Yeah, the mutilation is going to be after death. Because like then they don't even have body integrity.
Yeah, I mean, they never did. Like,
Yeah. I took this question like very literally. How it said genocide isn't like the killing of the people.
Mhm.
So I remember it said that like the sexual violence makes women hate themselves pretty much, and I remember the author was like, as a rape counselor, I encountered a bunch of women who say that they no longer want to be Indian anymore because of what happened to them. And that leads to like higher depression rates and like higher suicide rates and stuff. I remember it was like 500% higher or something in like Native tribes.
Mhm.
And so they're literally like killing themselves to get out of this self-hatred cycle. And so I remember it said some tribes literally said that they would rather go extinct than like continue to live like this and continue to be violated constantly like this. So that's how I took it, how they were literally like killing the people with their actions.
I took it as I just mentioned that there's a difference between cultural and physical genocide. So I guess this kind of goes off what you said, like more cultural genocide is like kind of mentally killing them off. It's the systematic destruction of traditions, values, and language of an entire culture. So that's kind of where the self-hatred comes from. They're taking that away, and it relates to the boarding schools as well, because their young children were sent off away from their families at a young age. And then the physical genocide was actually the physical massacring of an entire population, which was done, but it was done like under the scope, you know.
Yeah, like it wasn't. Yeah,
you know, it wasn't like the Holocaust genocide, or you know, something that was such, you know, a big deal. But I mean, it is a big deal whether it's a genocide in like, you know, Germany or
anything
Holland
really.
or
A genocide
here.
is a genocide.
It's still done, but it's like crazy how just because the power that, you know, the colonizers or the government has, we can just make it invisible.
And I have a quote that kind of represents that cultural genocide, where she talks about inculate patriarchal norms into Native communities so that women will lose their place of leadership in those communities. And that like represents that cultural genocide.
Yeah, the assimilation of them into the patriarchy. I don't understand why people can't do what they want to do.
Mind their own business.
I remember there's something else, but like I'm lost in.
What's the next question? Unless the movie has anything to say. We can come back to the question.
Yeah, if you like, yeah. So you can find anything. So number 4, how have boarding school policies contributed to rates of sexual violence?
Wow. This was a very interesting chapter for me, at least. I thought it was crazy how there was literally one guy who said on his application. It was actually like in North Carolina, I think. How there was one guy who said on his application when he was applying to be a teacher there that he had a history of sexual molestation of kids.
I remember reading that.
And they still hired him regardless of that.
And then he went off and
he like molested like 12 boys and stuff like that. And then there was a school in Arizona, a teacher there who was accused of sexually abusing at least 142 boys. At least 142 people. Like that's just disgusting. So it's like, and the principal didn't even bother like investigating that. Like the Bureau of Indian Affairs, that's who like oversees all of these schools, or that's who oversaw, I guess. I know some of them still exist, blah blah blah. But like they have not taken into consideration any of these, even when it's been publicly like denounced, and they don't even do anything about it.
Well, is it like they refused to even like what's it called, like look into it, like they didn't want to. That's
So you're gonna force these people to go to these places, and then you're gonna treat them badly. It's exactly like the Holocaust. You're gonna force them to go to concentration camps, and then you're gonna kill them there. So I don't know.
Is that there was supposed to be a registry created? 'Cause, like they literally had like a solution to this problem, and they didn't even go through
The Indian Child Protection Act of
Yeah,
1990.
Yeah, there's supposed to be like a registry created, so sexual offenders on like native lands, and they didn't even like it wasn't. I think it said it wasn't like efficiently funded and like implemented, and that's why it didn't go through. But like, you guys had a solution, and you just didn't take it. And it doesn't even matter that like it's children that are being violated either, and that goes back to the whole thing that they're inherently rapeable and violable. I think that's the word.
Yeah, it's fine. I tried to find it.
I guess like it's another like form of like cultural destruction too,
Mm-hmm.
because they were taught these principles on English and Christianity, and then they were prohibited to
And then they could
go
speak
over
in
that.
their native tongue
Yeah.
and stuff.
Or do into the traditions.
Yeah.
and it's very strict.
They literally said that like here it is right here. This is what Smith refers to as a cultural genocide or eliminating enslaving the man.
Yeah, men were taught labor skills in farming, and women were taught housekeeping skills. So they were already being gendered for Western norms, and putting women at a disadvantage or marginalizing them even more.
And like this book was written only in 2005, so like it makes me wonder, what from this research like still stands today.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say about this. That's all I found for it.
I think there's something else in there where I talk about the girls where they have like they had like a summer break that they didn't have like a break.
Oh
I
yeah.
forgot what exactly he was talking about. I read that.
I remember there was one where there's some girl like a bunch of kids like died in these boarding schools because they would physically abuse them too. They would like
Yeah.
hit them and like whip them and stuff. And there was one girl who died like within the school because she was put in like this cell and she wasn't checked on. And so like I think she was like
There's
wasn't she like drunk or something though?
they put them in solitary confinement
Yeah.
in these places, which is now I believe they're trying to make like completely like illegal, prohibited to put any outlawed for any. I think they still have it for like adults sentencings, but for children and like juveniles, they're not allowed to put them in solitary confinement because it leads to depressive symptoms and can lead to them going like
And
crazy.
stuck your mind.
Yeah,
I think you're right about the she was drunk because like for punishment they would use like torture to
Yeah.
like
deter them from doing
yeah.
I just found this goes back to the question do around sexual violence. Yeah. I just found this and I remember reading this and I thought it was really weird and gross that there was a video game in which you had to rape an Indian woman and you like gained points for it. It's on page 28 and 29 at the very bottom. It says this colonial desire to subjugate Indian women's bodies was quite apparent when, in 1982, Stuart Caston marketed Custer's Revenge, which I'm guessing wasn't that like a general platoon?
Yeah.
Or yeah, something like that. And it said Custer's Revenge, a video game in which players got points each time they, in the form of Custer, raped an Indian woman. The slogan of the game is "When you score, you score." He describes the game as a fun sequence where the woman is enjoying the sexual act willingly.
That's crazy.
How gross is that? And that's like like kids were playing that. That's just it's just all gross.
I mean this book is
This book is a lot to read.
how is environmental racism a form of violence against indigenous people?
Okay, so this section was also really gross to were talking about like the rape of the land,
Mhm.
and I just very distinctly remember reading about the jellyfish babies.
Oh, where they
And-
didn't have any bones and
Yeah,
their
they were
brains
transparent.
and you could see the brains
And the heart and the organs.
They died after
And
like
that's
a day.
yeah, and that's because of like the bombs and stuff and all of the radioactive crap that like got into the air around where they lived.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they said that like they didn't know that this was unusual because the unusual was the usual for them.
Yeah, it was so seen as normal. And they justified it again. You know, it goes back to one of the, relating the people being unworthy of themselves. It's like, okay, well, if they're unworthy of themselves, then what makes them have right to land?
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't really care about them. And they said it was mentioned that they did not properly subdue the land, and the land was not established by God, so anyone could take it from the Indians.
Yeah, there was a Supreme Court case about it that was mentioned here too. It was Lone Wolf versus Hitchcock, where the Congress decided that they have full power over the fate of indigenous lands and people. So like they literally get to decide like where they live, and like the word I remember she mentioned the word like reservation in itself represents that like we're kind of doing them a favor letting them live, where this is actually like they have the rights to this land. Like, this is where they were before we were, but like it's like we're doing them a favor by letting them continue to thrive.
Yeah. And it mentioned the nuclear testing in the waste dump sites and how the areas of land that they gave them, they were more likely to have the like dumping sites around them.
Yeah. And by highways.
And by highways, yeah, I mentioned highways. So that also increased their chances of abnormalities with pregnancy and the babies. It also mentioned that they said you can only see the physical damages done to the natives, but this environmental racism is affecting everyone.
It's going to, yeah.
So I found that interesting. It's like, we're still doing all this stuff, but it's going to affect us eventually as well.
And then it also goes back to how like they don't even care that it's children. It's so weird to me how everyone's always like, we need to save the women and children, but like we're talking about white women and children. And like if it's anyone else, like it doesn't matter, because they didn't even care that it was like children being molested in the boarding schools. Like they didn't want to do anything about that. They don't even care that children are the ones that are going to like carry the weight of this environmental racism, like more than anyone else. It said that like the children can't even like escape it because it literally like what is it? No, it like it's in their mother's body, like the toxins and stuff. That I remember it said that, like the toxins are stored in the fat.
Isn't it fat?
Yeah, and so then when women are pregnant or when they're lactating and like breastfeeding, it's being passed on to the kids.
Yeah,
So
so there's no avoiding it.
yeah, and like it's just so crazy to me how everyone's constantly like, we need to protect the children, and like you actually don't care.
Yeah.
But as for the environmental like racism, like things that like President Bush justified such actions by like claiming the need to fuel the war on terror, and so there's like a failure to they didn't they realized it. So it said they put it in terms as like there is a failure to realize that an impact of Native Americans means an impact on everyone, but they were so focused like on the racism part that they didn't really. I don't know, but that was interesting.
And then one thing, when the colonizers try to subdue the land, they find out it's not easy to control that, and they try to blame the destruction of that on the native people too, even though they're dirty and all this other stuff.
Okay, so according to Smith, what would an anti-violence strategy look like?
Would the more modern Planned Parenthood be the anti-violence strategy? I kind of have a difficult time trying to figure out what's anti-violent.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think maybe Planned Parenthood can be like in terms of like the sterilization thing,
Yeah.
but also like you said, when you think about like the history of Planned Parenthood, it doesn't really have a good one.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would necessarily trust Planned Parenthood either because of everything. I had a really hard time figuring out what this was, but there was like a quote where she was like, "We need to develop responses to gender violence that do not depend on a sexist, racist, classist, and homophobic criminal justice system." And I think this question like tied in with 7 really well, because like and this ties kind of back into some of my previous readings too, because I remember it was like the people who are being affected by these issues need to be the ones that are creating these policies, not just, men in power that are going, well, if I were to be in this situation, I would think I would do this, so I think that this will be the most helpful. And so that's what I said would be an anti-violence strategy, would be giving the people who actually experience this every day, and that this is their reality, a voice, and let them create legislation and policy, and like at least give their own opinion about it, and that can maybe spark change.
I have that. So Andrew Smith mentions that anti-violence strategy means going up against like the empire. That's what I got by it. In this case, the empire is like the United States. And like anti-violence strategies find their foundation on the premise that violence happens outside the home and needs to stay like out there, is what she put. And that quote was on page 177 on the ebook. But that's what I found.
Yeah, it kind of, what I got kind of goes into question 7 as well. But they compared restorative justice to using more government forces, like trying to put more policing and put more of this, rapists away. But it wasn't the outside that was doing the violence too. It was like you're more likely to be violated inside a home.
Yeah.
So as you said, it's got to be done from inside.
Yeah, I do what you're saying. She gave up those 6 directions for which one to take, but that's a lot to read. She had like all 6 of them. Where were they even at? They were in chapter 7. Yeah. So she was like, we need to expand our definition of community, build transnational relationships in the fight to end violence against women. She had a whole bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
And I think like those are good steps towards it. I just like that stuff, how she promoted her little group towards the end of that, her insight thing.
I guess on page 168, to go with helping inside the home, she proposed organizing around affordable housing for women so they could leave their abusers or working to end poverty. Just right there.
Yeah, I see it. So we may not be trapped in abusive relationships. It's hard developing what an anti-violence strategy would be when like all of your oppressors are being violent to you.
Yeah.
So I feel like it will be really hard to not be violent like right back, but that would also perpetuate like a stereotype onto them.
Which it is. There is that stereotype. It's like, oh, these women that they don't fight back, but they win the fight, and they're seen as violent, and they get that negative view, even though they win it. They also mentioned therapeutic approach of trying to help women through mental and psychological services.
Well, that goes back into how the doctors didn't care about people giving abortions; they would scold them too. It seems like everything is a consequence of things that they don't do.
And it doesn't really get fixed. Like they say they do something for it, but then there's another thing that pops up. like let's say you do fix it in like abortion, but then you still have these people who are like negatively like put you in a stereotype. So like there's really no winning. Like
Yeah.
you can't really do nothing about it.
Did you guys see? What was it? There's like a picture of a textbook going around. Since we're like talking about like Native life and everything Native Americans, there's like a picture of a textbook going around. It's like a new one that was just released. That's like erasing the entire Trail of Tears, and it's like the title of the little section is called "Moving Out," and it's like when the European settlers came, they needed a place to live, so the natives were kind enough to give them like a place to stay or whatever, and it's like completely erasing like the Jackson presidency and his racism towards Native Americans and the Trail of Tears and everything, like all of their struggles. And that's just
Really?
yeah. I've been seeing it go around.
I remember that being a really big thing in my American history when
Yeah.
I was in elementary school. I remember
was in
that
mine,
Trail
too.
of Tears.
Yeah, and it's like completely gone out of the textbook. Let me see. I might be able to find it. But yeah, the textbook it pretty much says like exactly that.
I don't.
To whitewash it, pretty much. Which I remember in my U.S. history class, like Jackson's presidency was very centered around the fact that he was racist, and like the point got across that he was very racist. Like that was not left out. I might be able to find it. Yeah, we can go to the next question.
How is the reliance on a state-based CJ system inadequate to address sexual violence in Native communities?
It was just not successful. They tried to have more prisons and more. It goes back to what I had said in question 6. I had mentioned the 3-strike legislation, how they tried to enforce that, but it didn't really decrease any crime rates.
I have that this is inadequate because the system in itself is already racist and colonialized, so like why are they going to care about these people of color? Like they're not going to worry about it if they're already racist. Everyone in there, and not the people in there, but you know the structure of it, and like the policies themselves are already racist and colonialized.
Yeah, that's just what I had said. That reliance on the criminal justice system for like advocacy of sexual violence highlights the dominant power that it has over society. So that's just reinforces what you said.
Yeah, I also said the same again, where it was like the people who experience this should be able to create the policies. Because it really makes no sense for like these people who don't go through this
Because
to.
you don't know what it is.
Yeah, it really makes absolutely no sense for these people to be like, well, I know what to do, even though I've never
Like,
been
how
through
would
it.
they know what's better for them if they haven't been to school?
Any other points? I don't really know.
It just said on page 144, relying on the criminal justice system as the primary approach towards ending violence does not address the reality of police and other forms of state violence in Native communities. This whole book is just very like eye-opening. Like
Yeah.
I was not taught any of this like at all in school.
The only thing I was taught was
I was basically just taught
Not
the Trail of
really.
Tears and like
that was it.
yeah, and like that they were
Thanksgiving.
I don't even remember, like,
And like reservations.
I went to Indian reservation in Cherokee. You guys in Cherokee?
We used to
Yeah,
have
they
one.
they have like a school trip, everything where we went there, and it's like.
That's gross. That's like capitalizing. on it.
Yes, I remember it. It was so stereotypical. It's like Indians dressed like Indians, and
Yeah, we had. I'm from.
they were like, I think I made like a candle or something.
wait, okay, yes, yeah, Saturday, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking
And then I also went to Cherokee. I went to the casino that's there, and like that's how they make their money. Through the casino.
Okay, here's that textbook. Okay. Yep. Moving out. When the European settlers arrived, they needed land to live on. The First Nations people
some historical significance out of there. About that situation.
That's all. Yeah, we used to have like what was it? An Okinichi reserve, like a mini one, like in where I'm from in Hillsborough, and it was so stereotypical. And like I know the powwows are like a custom of theirs and stuff, but it was like very whitewashed. And like I remember we took a school trip down there too, and it was just like the stereotypical, you know, like look at their teepees.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but like there's so much more to their culture than just that. And it's really gross that it's so whitewashed.
I agree. It was a long book, but I mean, it was an easy read.
It was an interesting read.
It was a lot of stuff to think.
Yeah.
But like it's so crazy to me that they've been through all of this stuff and like they're still standing.
I kind of saw like a parallel with this and like slavery.
Mm-hmm. The book mentioned slavery a couple times.
It also mentioned witchcraft.
Yeah, it did.
Mentioned slightly mentioned that can be more generalized to women. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to say.
That's actually fun.
40 minutes.
This was a very interesting read. I'm really glad that I read it. I thought it
It's just sad.
was sad, but like I'm really glad that I read it.
I mean, yeah, it's like
Now
so
I
it's like
know
an
a lot
eye
more.
opener. Yeah.
Because I have a friend who's native, and I talk to her a lot, and like I never like fully understood
Mhm.
like why she was always like so angry about everything.
Mhm.
But like reading this, you
I
know,
understand now.
yeah. Which I mean, like I know the basics about a lot of stuff, but like when she would like get down into it, I wouldn't like completely understand why, because I never knew like all of these injustices that were put against them.